Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of Props of the Week. And in this edition of Props of the Week, I'll be doing UFC Fight Night, Della Maddalena versus Prates. So I'm going to be giving you the props for the week. So got four for this week. UFC Fight Night, Della Maddalena versus Prates. So first one is Tuivasa by KO at -125. Tuivasa doesn't really win any other way. He really don't. He's not even about to submit you. I don't think I can recall him winning a decision, so it's like KO. Maybe I bet under, maybe. But what I'm picking is Tuivasa by KO at -125. It's not like his opponent has shown to be so good in the UFC or shown any type of skills or shown to be any more than a striker. And Tuivasa, his main issue has been, he's fought some good fighters, not like he just fought scrubs. He fought Sergey Pavlovich, who's still like a top 5 fighter. For Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who, again, one of the top strikers, or was one of the top strikers in the division at one point, he lost a decision. I'm just saying he don't go to distance, but he didn't win the decisions. But anyway, Rozenstruik was one of the better strikers, in heavyweight. They had a striking battle. He lost, came up short. Cyril Gane hurt him in that fight. So he's been fighting good guys. Knocked out Derrick Lewis, who was a long-time top 5 heavyweight. And that other issue is grappling, which Sutherland's really not a grappler or really hasn't fought even at the high level or shown any real respectable grappling. So yeah, Tuivasa by KO versus Sutherland, who's winless in the UFC. Yes, Tuivasa on a long losing streak, but this is by far the worst guy he has ever fought in the least dimensional. Well, I'm not saying the least dimensional, but really, I would even rate. I would say Derrick Lewis. I would think Derrick Lewis would beat Sutherland in the grappling match, to be honest. And Tuivasa got taken out several times by Derrick Lewis, but he got back and ultimately TKO'd him. So Tuivasa's not as bad on the ground as people like to make it seem, but he's still terrible on the ground. But yeah, I think his grappling defense is solid enough to deal with a guy like Sutherland. If he loses to a guy like Sutherland, that just really means his head's not in it at all. Like, I know he's not improving at all, but if you lose to Sutherland, that's really, just retire. Go to BKFC, go to Beer Knuckle Boxing, go to Beer Knuckle MMA, do something else, go to Influencer Boxing, you lose to Sutherland. Like, go from beating guys like Derrick Lewis and fighting Cyril Gane and dropping Cyril Gane and having these big fights and fighting Volkov to I think Volkov submitted him, but fighting the Volk. He was fighting, like, again, the upper echelon of the sport of the heavyweight division. So this is a big step down, fighting a guy who's winless inside the UFC and has not fought, or really, matter of fact, he's fought has he fought a guy at UFC level? No. Yeah, he hasn't even fought a guy at UFC level. Maybe trained with fought? No. So a guy hasn't even fought a UFC level guy, and already has no wins in the UFC. 0-2 in the UFC. Well, I'm yapping too much. By the way, roughly speaking, he has had no credential, anything at this level as far as winning, showing any sign of this and sign of that, nothing. So Sutherland's a huge step down, and most likely going to be the striking battle with Tuivasa, and that's where Tuivasa should thrive and should be to beat a guy like Sutherland pretty easily. So Tuivasa by KO at -125. The next one, I got Thickness by decision, or Thickness, whatever you want to call his name, Kobe, by decision at +120. Thickness by decision at +120. I just feel like Vince Morales fights just always go to close decisions, and he's always on the wrong side of close decisions. And people act like Thickness is just some scrub. Like, he fought, like, you act like, he lost to Alexander Topuria. He went to full distance with Topuria. Like, it was a competitive scrap. Topuria was just better. It wasn't like he got washed by Topuria. And then Musasa is a super athletic guy. He might be raw, but he's a super athletic guy. Like, a guy like that can make you look bad. And he went out there, he had rough patches, but he did what he had to do to get the win. And Thickness' original martial art is BJJ. And I feel like the BJJ is really where the grappling for Morales is really where all his, his danger has been looking like, that's where his threat has been, is in the grappling in his recent stint in the UFC. Like, it hasn't been, his striking been looking so sharp, this been looking so sharp. His offensive takedown been looking sharp. It's more so he's getting taken down, doing decent with the wrestling himself, but not that great. But then having good submission thrusts, in regards to grapplers trying to grapple him. I feel like Thickness striking right there among guys that have beaten Morales. He has good pacing. He's tough. He's durable. Again, he has solid BJJ. He's younger, and he's in his backyard. So it's a lot of things on his side. And again, I feel like Thickness can outwork Morales. I feel like Morales, as far as his striking pace, is that high. Really, his pace in general, offensively, like maybe attack submission is pretty high, and scrambling is pretty high. But as far as just flat out striking, he's not a guy that's gonna be out there doing 100 strikes or whatever like that. especially not at this point in his career. So I feel like Thickness can strike him, out value him, outwork him, and grind him out to a decision. Still competitive, close fight, just like Morales' fights have been since he, in this stint in the UFC. Tough, but I don't think he got a win since he's been back in the UFC. But he put on a good showing or for himself every single time. And I think that's gonna be the same situation here. So Thickness by decision at plus 120. Next one got Cody Still by decision at plus 165. Just feel like he's the better overall fighter than Domar Fan. This is a grappler matchup, and I think Cody Still just a much more athletic, much more credentialed grappler, and has been around the who's of the sport, especially as far as particularly grappling. Especially in BJJ, he's for some solid BJJ guys, some solid standout grapplers. Wrestled at pretty high level as well. I think his levels of the game, and I think he's learned from that loss, and it's a matchup where they should match up pretty evenly in similar styles, but I think Cody Still is just a better version and much more athletic. And yeah, that's really what it is. Just two grapplers. I think Cody Still is just a better overall grappler, the better overall fight here against Domar Fan. So him by decision plus 165. I don't think he'll blow through Domar Fan, but I do think that he'll show that he's on a different level than Domar Fan. And then last but not least, got Ralston by KO or sub at plus 120 to KO or sub Brzezinski. Brzezinski's really a sloppy fighter. The swings, big loopy shots. I do worry about Ralston's chin, as I said in the quick pick, as I said in the full card prediction. But I do worry about his chin. In fact, he hangs up high a lot of times. And, that's all you need for a guy like Ralston who's sloppy. I mean, not Ralston, but Brzezinski is sloppy there. You give him an opportunity, he could capitalize on it. But I think Ralston will rise to the occasion. I don't rate Brzezinski high. And win, lose, or draw this one, his ceiling is extremely low. He's not going very far in the sport. Not really seeing no great evolution from him. I feel like Ralston has, better IQ, the better technique everywhere, better cardio, et cetera, the better style to go the distance or, to test the mileage or whatever. And I think it'll be to break down Brzezinski over the course of the fight and probably stop him late via KO or submission. So KO or submission at plus 120, get plus money value on it. I do think that's a pretty likely prop. I mean, it could be decisions as well, but I'm KO or sub. I think those are the two best props. I don't really rate Brzezinski's conditioning that well, his IQ that well. And I think Ralston wants to make a statement this time, and I think he'll be able to make a statement and get a stoppage over Brzezinski in the distance. Again, Brzezinski don't really have much to his game, and I think Ralston will be able to exploit that and get him out of there. So Ralston KO or sub at plus 120. So let me run through them again. The first one is Tai Tuivasa by KO at minus 125. Kobe Thickness by decision at plus 120. Cody Still by decision at plus 165. And Cam Ralston by KO or submission at plus 120. So those have been the props of the week for UFC Fight Night. Della Maddalena versus Prates. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.